As the team bus rolled over the uneven terrain, I could feel my nerves bubbling beneath the surface. Tonight's game was crucial, not just because it was against our arch rivals, but because it could determine our place in the playoffs. And if there's one thing I hated more than losing, it's losing to them. I'm Riley, a junior at Lincoln High, and I take basketball very seriously. Maybe too seriously, according to some. But that's just who I am. Competitive, driven, focused. But there was someone on the team who matched my intensity, if not surpassed it. Sophia. She's a senior, a talented forward with a fiery passion for the game. She's also my rival, my competitor, my opposite number on the court. We clash more often than we cooperate, and our interactions off-court aren't much better. As the bus pulled into the parking lot of the hotel where we'd be staying for the night, I exchanged a terse nod with Sophia. She smirked, a challenge in her eyes. I couldn't let her get to me, not now. Inside the hotel, the coach handed out room assignments. My heart sank when I saw mine, room 212, shared with none other than Sophia. Great. Just great. It was like the universe was playing some cruel joke on me. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I made my way to the room, my steps heavy with dread. Sophia was already inside, unpacking her things with an ease that irritated me. She looked up as I entered, a smirk tugging at her lips. Well, looks like we're roomies, she said, her tone laced with amusement. I forced a smile, masking my annoyance. Lucky me, I replied, dropping my bag onto the nearest bed. For a while, there was awkward silence as we both went about our business, avoiding each other's gaze. But eventually, the tension eased, replaced by a strange sort of camaraderie born out of necessity. We were stuck together, whether we liked it or not. As the hours passed, we found ourselves talking about basketball, about school, about everything and nothing. It was strange how easy it was to open up to someone I'd always considered my enemy. And then, somewhere in the midst of our conversation, something shifted. Maybe it was the way her eyes softened when she talked about her family, or the genuine laughter that bubbled up between us. Whatever it was, I found myself seeing Sophia in a different light, not as my rival, but as a person. The game was still on my mind, of course, looming large like a storm cloud on the horizon. But for the first time, I realized that winning wasn't everything. That maybe, just maybe, there was something more important than basketball. That night, as we lay in our beds, the room bathed in the soft glow of the bedside lamp, I found myself unable to sleep. My mind was racing with thoughts of the game, of course, but also of Sophia, her laugh, her smile, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about something she was passionate about. I glanced over at her, sleeping peacefully in the bed across the room, her face relaxed in repose. In that moment, I realized that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't my enemy after all. Maybe she was something else entirely. The next day, we faced off against our rivals on the court, our determination stronger than ever. But this time, it wasn't just about winning. It was about playing for each other, for our team, for something greater than ourselves. And as the final buzzer sounded, signaling our victory, I looked over at Sophia, a smile spreading across my face. She returned it, a grin of pure joy lighting up her features. In that moment, I knew that we'd forged something special, something that went beyond the confines of the basketball court. As the adrenaline of victory pumped through our veins, we headed back to the hotel for a quick change before the post-game celebration. The bus echoed with laughter and chatter, the tension from the game replaced by an electric excitement. At the hotel, the lobby buzzed with activity as players and fans alike gathered to celebrate our win. Music blared from speakers, and the room was filled with the scent of pizza and soda. It was a scene of pure joy and camaraderie, a celebration of our hard-fought victory. Sophia and I found ourselves drawn together once again, our shoulders brushing as we navigated through the crowd. There was a newfound ease between us, a shared understanding that transcended words. We laughed and joked, basking in the glow of our success. As the night wore on, I found myself stealing glances at Sophia when she wasn't looking, admiring the way her eyes sparkled with laughter, the way her smile lit up the room. And when she caught me staring, she returned the look with a shy smile of her own, sending a flutter of excitement through my chest. It was during a lull in the festivities, as we stood on the edge of the dance floor, that it happened. The music slowed to a romantic melody, and Sophia stepped closer, her hand reaching out to grasp mine. I felt a surge of warmth at her touch, a rush of emotion that took me by surprise. Without a word, she pulled me into her arms, our bodies swaying together to the rhythm of the music. In that moment, surrounded by the noise and chaos of the party, it felt like we were the only two people in the world. And then, as if by mutual consent, our lips met in a gentle kiss, a kiss filled with all the longing and passion that had been building between us. It was soft and sweet, a promise of something more to come. As we pulled away, our eyes met, and I saw something flicker in Sophia's gaze, a spark of hope, of possibility. In that moment, I knew that our story was just beginning, that this was only the first chapter of something beautiful. And as we returned to the party, hand in hand, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the unexpected twist of fate that had brought us together. Because sometimes the greatest victories aren't found on the scoreboard. Sometimes they're found in the hearts of those we once called enemies. And sometimes they're found in the arms of the person we least expect. Being a firefighter wasn't just a job for me. It was a calling, a way of life. My name is Emily Walker, and I've been serving on the force for years. I'm tough, determined, and always ready to face whatever challenges come my way. But there was one person on the force who always seemed to push my buttons, Jessica Rodriguez. She was new to the team, with a brash confidence that rubbed me the wrong way. We clashed more often than we cooperated, and our interactions were filled with tension and frustration. It was a typical day at the fire station when the call came in, a fire at an abandoned building on the outskirts of town. Jessica and I were paired up for the assignment, much to my dismay. But as we geared up and headed out, I pushed aside my reservations and focused on the task at hand. As we arrived at the scene, the building loomed before us, flames licking at the windows and smoke billowing into the sky. It was a dangerous situation, but we were trained professionals, and we knew what needed to be done. We entered the building cautiously, our senses on high alert as we searched for any signs of life. The smoke was thick and choking, making it difficult to see more than a few feet in front of us. But we pressed on, our determination unwavering. Suddenly, there was a loud creaking sound, followed by a series of ominous cracks. I looked up just in time to see the ceiling above us give way, sending debris crashing down around us. I pushed Jessica out of the way just in time, but I wasn't fast enough to avoid getting trapped beneath the rubble. Pain seared through my body as I struggled to free myself, the weight of the debris pressing down on me like a vice. I could hear Jessica calling out to me, her voice filled with fear and desperation. But I couldn't focus on anything except the overwhelming pain and pressure. And then, just when I thought I couldn't hold on any longer, I felt hands reaching out to me, pulling me free from the wreckage. It was Jessica, her face streaked with dirt and sweat, her eyes filled with determination. "Hang on, Emily," she said, her voice urgent but reassuring. "I've got you. We're gonna get out of here." With her help, I managed to crawl out from beneath the rubble, my body shaking with exhaustion and relief. But our ordeal wasn't over yet. The fire raged around us, closing in with each passing second. We fought our way through the burning building, dodging flames and falling debris as we searched for an exit. It was a terrifying ordeal, but we refused to give up, drawing strength from each other as we pressed on. And then, finally, we saw it. A sliver of light shining through the darkness, a sign of hope amidst the chaos. With one final burst of energy, we pushed through the flames and stumbled out into the open air, gasping for breath and coughing up smoke. As the paramedics rushed to check us over, I found myself stealing glances at Jessica, a newfound sense of camaraderie settling between us. Despite the chaos and danger we had just faced, there was a strange kind of peace in the air, a shared understanding that we had been through something life-changing together. Jessica caught my eye and grinned, her smile lopsided but infectious. "Well, that was certainly an adventure," she remarked, her voice laced with a hint of amusement. I chuckled, the tension of the moment easing as I returned her smile. "You could say that," I replied, unable to suppress a sense of admiration for her bravery and resilience. As the paramedics checked us over for any injuries, Jessica and I found ourselves engaged in light banter, our shared experience forging a bond between us that went beyond mere partnership. We joked and laughed, trading stories and teasing each other like old friends. And amidst the chaos of the medical examination, I couldn't help but notice the way Jessica's eyes sparkled with mischief, the way her laughter filled the air like music. There was something undeniably magnetic about her, something that drew me in despite my better judgment. As the paramedics finished their examination and declared us both relatively unscathed, Jessica flashed me a grin and offered me her hand. "Well, partner, looks like we made it out in one piece," she said, her tone teasing but warm. I took her hand in mine, a thrill coursing through me at the contact. "Yeah, looks like we did," I replied, unable to suppress a smile of my own. And as we walked out of the building together, bruised but triumphant, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something new. A partnership forged in fire, and maybe even a hint of something more. My name is Alex Bennett, and I've spent the last few years of my life chasing my dreams in Hollywood. I'm an actress, always striving to give my best performance, to bring characters to life on the screen. But there's one co-star who seems determined to make my job more difficult than it needs to be: Lena Hayes. Lena and I were cast as love interests on a popular TV show, and from the moment we met, it was clear that we were like oil and water. She's talented, there's no denying that, but she's also stubborn and opinionated, always pushing my buttons in the worst possible way. Our on-screen chemistry might be electric, but off-screen it's a different story entirely. We clash more often than we cooperate, our interactions filled with tension and frustration. It's like we're constantly at war, each of us trying to outdo the other. But despite our differences, there's something undeniably captivating about Lena, a fire and passion that draws me in despite my best efforts to resist. And as much as I hate to admit it, there's a part of me that's intrigued by her, that finds myself wanting to peel back the layers and discover what lies beneath. It was during a particularly intense scene that things finally came to a head between us. We were filming a pivotal moment in the show, a scene filled with raw emotion and unspoken longing. I could feel the tension crackling in the air, a palpable energy that seemed to ignite something deep within me. And as Lena reached out to touch my face, her fingers lingering against my skin, I realized with a sudden clarity that maybe, just maybe, there was more to our connection than I had previously thought. But before I could dwell on it any further, the director called cut, and the moment was lost in the chaos of the set. Lena pulled away, her expression unreadable as she turned to walk away, leaving me standing there feeling more confused than ever. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself unable to shake the memory of that moment. The way Lena's touch had sent a shiver down my spine, the way her eyes had held mine with an intensity that took my breath away. It was like a spark had been ignited between us, and I couldn't ignore the way it made me feel. But Lena seemed determined to keep her distance, throwing herself into her work with a fierce determination that bordered on obsession. And try as I might to bridge the gap between us, she remained elusive, always just out of reach. It wasn't until we found ourselves shooting on location in a remote cabin in the mountains that things finally began to change between us. We were isolated from the rest of the world, surrounded by nothing but the beauty of nature and the quiet stillness of the forest. The tension on set was palpable on this particular day, as Lena and I prepared to shoot the climactic scene of our characters' long-awaited reunion. The air crackled with anticipation, our lines rehearsed to perfection. Yet there was an unspoken tension between us that seemed to hang in the air like a heavy mist. As the cameras rolled and the director called action, we threw ourselves into the scene with a fervor that bordered on desperation. Our characters, separated by circumstance but bound by love, finally found themselves in each other's arms once again, the weight of their shared history washing over them in a rush of emotion. And then, as we leaned in to share a passionate kiss, something changed between us. A shift in the air, a spark of something electric that sent a shiver down my spine. It was like a dam had burst, unleashing a flood of emotions that had been building between us for far too long. Our lips met with a ferocity that took my breath away, the line between fiction and reality blurring as we lost ourselves in the heat of the moment. And as the director called cut, we stood there, still locked in each other's embrace, our hearts racing and our eyes locked in a silent battle of wills. For a moment, the world around us faded away, leaving only the two of us standing there in the dim light of the set, our breath mingling in the air like smoke. And then, as reality came crashing back in around us, Lena once again pulled away from me, leaving me standing there alone, my heart heavy with unanswered questions and unspoken desires.